So, hello and welcome back yet again to another episode, sure I can call it an episode, of Exploring Azeroth with Beryl and sometimes Onyx. Just gonna be Beryl today, and fair warning, Beryl has not done the quests in the Twilight Highlands, which is the area that we are heading into. It is, despite the fact that I don't quest here all the time, it's still one of my favorite zones in the Eastern Kingdoms because of one place that will be the very end of the video. So stick around till then if you want to see my favorite place, probably in all of Eastern Kingdoms. And we're just going to do a big old circle tour, try and hit the middle bits. There's not a lot of secret areas in this, although I feel like a lot of people don't actually quest here, so you might not have seen a lot of these areas. There's one area that I found recently, and by recently I mean last week during my live stream. If you weren't aware, every other week at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday nights, I either live stream The Sims 4 or I live stream World of Warcraft. When I will live stream World of Warcraft, we are attempting to take a randomly generated monk that I made. She's a really cute little gnome. And we are attempting to get her to max level without killing anything. And so last week I decided that it would be a lot of fun to take her to places that maybe she's not supposed to go, because then I can get all of that wonderful exploration experience. So I actually ran her into the Twilight Highlands, and because she really was too low of a level and because she won't kill, she can't fight back, she did die a couple times along the way, and I ended up in a graveyard I've never been to before, and that you can't really get out of. Not without jumping off a mountain, which is what I ended up having her do. But it's really cool, and I don't think I'd ever seen it before, so that will be almost one of the last things that we see. But with all of that being said and done, and because this is actually the second time I have done this, because the first time I realized I had hit pause to get past a little boring bit and never remembered to hit unpause, so was at the end of the video and looked down and realized that I hadn't been recording. So on this take two, let's just go ahead and jump into it. Alright, so we are going to fly Beryl over from Twilight Highlands, where she just was, to a new Highlands, the Twilight Highlands. And our first stop is going to be the Vermillion Rideau. I think I'm saying it right. If I'm not, don't scalp me too hard. And this is an area of the Red Dragon Flight, and there are a lot of quests involved with it, and when you finish questing here, you will actually get a flight point with, I think it's this guy right here. Unfortunately, like I said, I haven't done the questing over here with Beryl, so she does not have that flight point. Also, it's been so long since I've done the questing, I do know that there is something up on the inside of this tree, but for the life of me, I can't remember what it is. I do remember that the questing here is a lot of fun, and you are helping to save the Ruby Dragonflight from the Obsidian Dragonflight, which are trying to, I think, kidnap all of their eggs and corrupt them. So you go down here and you just give them all a hand as they are trying to kill the grown dragons, steal the eggs, and corrupt them. It's, as always, tragic tale. I feel like everything in World of Warcraft is a tragic tale. The only other thing that's kind of interesting over here is in the back corner, there's a cool little cave. Not really anything hiding in the cave or anything like that, but it's just a cool little cave, and I like to find as many of these as I possibly can, because they make really good hideouts. So, if you go back to the back corner of the Vermillion Rideau, there's just a spiffy little cave back here. Not much to do in it, although you can see these Twilight abductors kidnapping all of the dragon eggs, and that is what you will be questing to stop. So, let's move on along. Now, if you remember, I said that I got my character who cannot fly or anything else into the Twilight Highlands, and the way you do it is you go over here to the wetlands, which is this zone over here, and you run through this big old gate. Don't worry about the fire, it's not going to kill you. And you just run right through, and that is the way to get a character who probably shouldn't into the Twilight Highlands. So yeah, I got her in. She, I think, ended up getting several levels just running through here, even though she did get killed a couple of times. But you know what? Death in WoW is not permanent, so that's okay. Now, our next area of interest, at least to me, is Grim Batal. Next week, I will be doing a double header. I will be doing the Dungeon of Grim Batal, and I will also be running through the raid, which is in this zone, which is the Twilight Citadel. Should be pretty fun. It's been a while since I've done them. And when I was coming over here to kind of check out everything before starting the video, I had forgotten about this elf that's up here, except she's not an elf. She's actually a red dragon. For some reason, she's smaller than any other dragon that you ever see in mortal form. In fact, she's smaller than a regular blood elf. And she's also disguised herself as a blood elf. You can tell by the glowing fell green eyes. Unlike most other dragons, she did not disguise herself as either a high elf or a human. So it's just sort of a point of interest. Alright, so we are going to run past Grim Batal, past Worm's Bend, where we have more dragons fighting, and over here to the Twilight encampment, and the entrance to the Twilight Citadel, which is the raid that we'll be doing next week. It's all the way up there at the very tippy top of that spire, and it's a pretty fun raid. Hopefully I won't go through it too poorly, but as you can see, the Twilight cultists have taken over this area, which I found out used to be controlled by the Earthen Ring, which is a force for good within Azeroth, but unfortunately it's been corrupted, as have so many things, and they are trying to, I do believe, bring about the end of the world, which seems to always be what bad guys are after, isn't it? And that's always why the good guys are fighting. But there's a lot of really fun quests up through this area, and we have another Twilight Altar. There are several of these scattered throughout Azeroth, and they all have really cool quests attached to them. I don't remember what the questing is with this one, but as you can see, quite spooky, quite atmospheric, and this one, unlike some of the others, has tendrils wrapped around the figures. It's interesting, and it makes you wonder what's up with it. Another fun little area over here, which we're not going to completely go through, mostly because if we do, I will end up getting lost, because I always get lost in caves in World of Warcraft. But right here, we have the Obsidian Lair, which is a big cave, and I think it might be where Deathwing came from. If you look down there, you can see a lot of bones and a lot of dragon skulls and a lot of bad news. But if you quest through the Twilight Highlands, you will actually have quests that take you in there and get you back out safely. I could go down there, but I can't remember how you get out, if there's another exit. There could be, and if so, maybe we can go through it. But I think it's a quest item that actually gets you out of that cave. Yeah, I'm not seeing another exit, so I don't feel like being lost in there for the next 10 years. It's funny, I love the caves in the World of Warcraft, and I've found some really cool stuff in caves. But I also get lost in World of Warcraft caves. It's almost a running joke. Well, a running joke with myself about getting lost in caves in World of Warcraft. So our next area, right up here, is the Obsidian Forest. And we have the red dragons fighting the black dragons. And again, the only thing that's really neat that I found here is this dragon skeleton that is wrapped around this spire. Looks like maybe he got a mountain completely dropped on him, is honestly what it looks like to me, especially with his little skeletal legs just kind of sticking up out of the ground there. I find it kind of cool. Alright, next area, which I don't have this built up. I think if you actually come in and do the quest to open the zone, you'll have the Alliance Fortress be actually built up and all usable. But it's been a while, haven't been here, and as you can see, it kind of just looks like everything is half finished and everybody is fighting. Once again, it's the Alliance versus the Horde, which seems to be the story of forever. I also was looking, because I was going to see if I could open this and actually do the quests in this area, just so that everything was open before this video. And it is so hard now to actually get the opening quests to the Twilight Highlands on either the Horde or the Alliance side. And that is because Blizzard loves to do their wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey thing, and everything is janky. So this right here, Dragon Maw Port, is the Horde side for the Twilight Highlands base area. And like most Horde buildings, they are what they are. They are not my architecture style that I like at all. Speaking of architecture styles that I like, though, we are about to go in and start poking around. Now, I think, yeah, this is Dragon Maw. And we are about to start looking at the structures built by the Wildhammer clan of the Dwarves, which I think are absolutely phenomenal, mostly because they look a lot like they just sort of jumped straight out of Lord of the Rings. And most of them look a bit like hobbit houses, which I think is really cool. Also, if you are interested, there is a little cemetery here where you can meet Ian Firebeard. Let's see what he has to say. They took us unaware, attacked all the Highlands at once, bursting forth from the ground, swooping from the air. Most of the griffin wings were scattered, and far too many good dwarves lost their lives. There'd be little hope at all if Keegan hadn't rallied us. I owe that man my life. And I think this might be the grave of said Keegan. So, like I said, there's a lot of really really good questing to be had here. But you can go here to Firebeard's Patrol and see, again, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens. But one thing I did find that I thought was really cool, if you come in here, now as usual you can go downstairs. I love Dwarven architecture because most of it is underground and it is so cool looking. You can actually use the chairs, take a seat by the, I would say fire, but there's no fire this time. And one really interesting thing, I'm assuming that this is the bathroom. I'm guessing that those are the chamber pots, but you got yourself a little sink, nice little mirror. Doesn't look like anyone's cleaned the mirror in a while. But yeah, cool little bathroom area, nice little eating area. And upstairs is something I don't think I've ever seen before in World of Warcraft, and that is a child-sized dwarf bed. So you can see that they don't let their children have anything more comfortable, but they do at least get a dolly to put with their bed. Over here we've got a couple Firebeard citizens just sleeping in bed. But yeah. Now, a lot of the other buildings in this area are kind of in ruins, but I think if I can get to, I think it's this one, some of them you can still get downstairs in them. Alright, not this one. And it makes for a really cool little hideout if you want your character to have just a little hidden area. Just someplace like, you know, if in your mind your character is a smuggler and you need someplace to hide the goods, a lot of these buildings you can go downstairs in, even if the upstairs is completely in ruins, which is extremely cool. There's not a lot else that I really want to show you. There is one town coming up ahead, Thundermar, and I think also a couple of the ruins that you can get down into the basements of. So we'll poke around in those a little bit. We'll poke around in Thundermar and just check out some more of the Dwarven architecture that I just think is so honestly well done. You know, it's funny, I was flying around in the Legion zones today, doing what I like to do, which is always looking for houses. And it's really, you can tell the expansions that Blizzard put a little more love into. Here we go, down in the basement of this ruined house, we've got beer and some fish. So, like I said, it's not that they had to put this stuff in, but the fact that they did put this stuff in just kind of breathes a little bit of life into the game, and it makes me happy. So yeah, if you keep poking around the ruins, you never know what you're gonna find. And I would say about a third of them you can actually find stuff down in the basements, which if you enjoy poking around, it's something you can do, and it's a lot of fun. At least it's a lot of fun for me. I think this right here is another set of ruins, which will get attacked, but you know, hey, we don't have to join in the fight. We can just kind of poke around and see if there's anything in a basement. I guess maybe we do have to join in the fight at least for a minute. Mostly because everyone's attacking us, and that's just rude. Alright, that could have been about it there. So let's move on to the town of Thundermar, the actual town. And this town is really neat because it has a couple of decent houses, and I'm sure if you've watched this series by now you know that for me, a house has to have some place to eat, some place to sit, and some place to sleep, which this town actually has, if I can actually get to it and stop saying the word actually so often. because that could get really annoying, at least for me. Alright, so here we are in Thundermar. It's not a big town. Not a lot of these dwarf towns are. But upstairs you've got a nice big cook stove. The artwork could be straightened up a little bit. It looks like maybe they've been busy fighting. Now down here, if you don't mind some unkept beds, you've got 2 beds that it doesn't look like anyone has made. And then over here you've got a lot of spare guns and another 2 beds. So if you have a slightly messy character, this is the house for you. You can run next door. Well, I guess it would be considered across the street. And you've got a nice little meeting hall where you can sit down, have a nice meeting with all of your guildmates, and that works out really, really well. You also have a place for your griffin or your dog. I'm assuming since this is the Wildhammer clan, it's probably a space for their griffin. And then you can run down here to the town proper. If I am probably going in the wrong direction. Probably. Am I? Of course I am. So yeah, we'll run down here to the town proper. The other thing I love about the Twilight Highlands is all of the little baby griffins. They are just the cutest little things ever. And you can actually capture your own baby griffin if you do the battle pets, because they're also running wild around here. And darn it, they're cute. Alright, let's go over to Thundermar proper and just poke in and out of these buildings. Again, I just love the architecture. Now, you go into this first building, and we've got some more baby griffins that just hatched. I mean, come on, how cute are they? You gotta love a little baby eagle-lion hybrid. Now we'll run over here. This is another meeting and ale hall. So you can take a seat on the bench, you can have, you know, your leader up there conducting the meeting. So those are our first 2 buildings. You can go over here and you can get your repairs done at the blacksmiths. You can get some trade goods right there. This is the inn, and the top floor of this inn looks really, really boring, and these chairs look really uncomfortable, but don't worry about it because you can go downstairs and we have some luxury accommodations. Got 4 nice beds, some pretty flowers, some books to read. This is not the best dwarven inn in the game. That'll be here in a little bit. We will be heading that way, but it's a nice one. And I think we have one last house. And again, you can get your food and drink, have a seat in your very own kitchen. You got your stove there for cooking. And you've got another messy bed, but bed, lots of beer kegs. Then over here you got more beer, because we have to have the stereotype of the dwarves who love their beer. So that is the town of Thundermar. Also, you've got this cute little garden area. And yeah, that is the town of Thundermar. Couple more little things before we head to my very favorite place. Over here we have another fiery breach. You can definitely tell that between Twilight's hammer and the Black Dragon flight and the Horde and Alliance fighting, you gotta feel bad for the Twilight Highlands. Over here we also have the Throne of the Elements, where what are they called? The Earthen Ring. Yeah, good job, me. Where the Earthen Ring are trying their best to combat all of these elementals and the lovely tentacles of Isorath. Which, if you do this quest line, it's, I'm going to say, a lot of fun. I feel like I say that too much, but it is a lot of fun because you're going to end up going down into the Sarlacc pit, essentially. Like, if you're a Star Wars fan, you can't tell me that that's not just the complete and utter Sarlacc pit. But that is not what we are doing today. Now, if you look out over the horizon, you can see what looks like Alliance warships out there. I have flown all the way out there. They are in the dead zone. Unfortunately, there's nothing on them to make the death that you will suffer for going out there worthwhile, but, you know, if you're bored, it's a good, kind of a fun thing to do. See if you can make it out and back before you get killed. Alright, so our last little bit of areas is up here. If you see off in the distance, that is the Krasworks. It's another horde area, this one more designed by goblins, and I think, could be wrong, but I think that this is a goblin zeppelin crash right here in front of us. And these look like freshly dug graves of that crew. So don't know the story behind that. If you do know the story behind this zeppelin crash and all of these graves, drop in the comments below because I am very, very curious. Now, if you remember, I said that last week I ran my little peaceful gnome all the way up into the Twilight Highlands, and unfortunately, she died as I was heading for the town of Kurthaven, which is probably my favorite place in all of the Eastern Kingdoms. And since she died fairly close to Kurthaven, her soul was taken to the graveyard. Well, the graveyard that she resurrected in was up here on top of this mountain, but not this graveyard. No, she resurrected on a higher graveyard with no road coming out of it. But speaking of graveyards, there's just a random graveyard here up on Thunderstrike Mountain. Not sure who's buried here, other than probably many members of the Wildhammer clan. But yeah. Unfortunately, none of the graves actually have memorials on them, which I'm always happy when there's a memorial on the graves that you can read about who it is and how they died. But all the way up here at the very tippy top of Thunderstrike Mountain is, I've seen speculation that this could be another, like, elementalist altar, but I've also seen speculation that this might be a graveyard for the Griffins, which are the partners of the Wildhammer dwarves. And most people that think that it's the grave of Griffins tend to think so because of all of the feathers on these graves. So if you happen to know, please let me know. You can also see that all of these trees are carved with different Wildhammer symbols. So if we get up close enough to see one, that one is the hammer. Over there it looks like a bearded dwarf face. And we've got some clouds and lightning. It's just kind of cool. Alright, so on to what is my very favorite town in all of the Eastern Kingdoms, and that is Kurthaven. And I really wish that the WoW developers would make more places like this, because it's wonderful. It's a wonderful town. It's my favorite town. It also happens to be one of the few places that I really like going that always seems really empty and a place that you can just kind of appreciate that actually has a flight point. So, if you are an Alliance player, you can go right here and get a flight point directly to this town. You know, I'm almost afraid to talk about this town because I don't want everybody here, but at the same time, it would be nice to see more people here using it, either for roleplay or just because it's a really cool town. Right here you have what looks like a house, but it's not. It's another little griffin hatchery. And downstairs there are even more griffins. They're so cute. There's tiny ones. And then over in this next room, we have multiple sizes, from teeny tiny to medium to newly hatched. So that is the first fun little place here in Kurthaven. Then you run down from the griffin hatchery into the town proper, and this town, I don't know. I'm probably biased, but I love this town. You've got a cool fountain here in the middle. Then you've got your meeting hall right here. And upstairs you've got the chairs all ready for the meetings. And downstairs you have another meeting area. And this one is super nice because you've got all of the fires going. You've got your drinks set up. And it's just, I don't know, it's a really cool place, and I really wish that Blizzard would either bring player housing into effect or make a lot more places like this. Now we'll go into the inn, and like I said, this is probably one of the better inns, at least in the Eastern Kingdoms, maybe in the entire game. Although a lot of places in Borealis give it a run for its money. But upstairs you've got your little reagent area, you've got your fireplace that's not burning right now, probably because it's summer. Downstairs you've got your meat spit roasting over what could be a fire eventually. And then you've got 4 nice beds. You've got a nice big chest of drawers. I don't know. For a World of Warcraft inn, this one's pretty awesome. And you can sit here and have a nice conversation with the, honestly, kind of terrifying looking child's toy in the other seat. Alright, up we go, and out, and again you've got just a nice little area to get your repairs done. You've got a blacksmith, you've got a guy to sell you your trade goods, and then you come to what is definitely my favorite house in this game, and it's the house I always claim as my own, even if I'm not on an RP realm, because it's awesome. You have one room that is the library, with a little arcane book that's probably a little terrifying to read, but hey, knowledge is power. And then you go over here, past this big old totem, into just a nice single bedroom. You got a nice little dressing table over here in the corner. I don't know. This is my favorite town in the Eastern Kingdoms, and I hope you liked it. Gonna leave this here this week, and hopefully I will see you next week as we do a double header of dungeons and I run through Grim Batal and the Twilight Citadel raid. But until then, I hope you had a good time. Don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you want to, always makes me smile, and I will see you next week.